Good evening, good evening, good evening, folks. Uh, Welcome to I Meant What I Said. And I meant what I said. I'm going to come to you as the mood strikes. So today we come to you with just an open discussion, open dialogue. Hope you guys will add to the conversation and discourse. Tell us what you're thinking. We're going to tell you what we're thinking. Um, I just wanted to start off by saying if you're out here in the Northeast or all down the Eastern coast, please be careful out there. The weather is treacherous, so be careful. My brother, who is on the screen with us, Lawrence from Rutherford, he is out in the West Coast, so he got it pretty good right now. What's the temperature there, little brother?
Hey everybody, glad to be here. Like Nikki said, I hope everybody on the East Coast is doing okay. Be careful out there. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. It's bad. Uh, I'm in Vegas, so I haven't seen any snow in years. But
What's the temperature out there?
I think it's in the 50s today. It's warmer than it's been. It's been kind of chilly here lately, but
Uh-huh.
it's not too bad today.
Okay, that's chilly, but it ain't like it is here. I think it's like
Oh, not at all, not at all.
yep. But anyway, good people, we're gonna get started with our little discourse, and we're gonna chop it up about quite a few things. But the center of what we're gonna discuss today is mainly and mostly about race, and I just wanted to talk about politics, of course, as always and usual, and I also wanted to talk about and let me just throw this out as a little heads up. If you have not seen the movie American Skin, don't watch this. Don't watch too much because we're gonna talk about the movie American Skin. We're gonna dissect it a little bit. We're gonna do kind of a little Cisco. What was his name? Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little Siskel and Ebert on American Skin. We're gonna call it Nick and Crick because I know my little brother don't always like to say it, but his nickname is Cricket, so he don't like us calling him. He want us to call him by his first given name, which is grown man. Now I get it, but for our screening of American Skin, this is the Nick and Crick version of review of American Skin. So we're gonna talk about that. I want to briefly touch on this new book that I bought, that I got, The Devil You Know by Charles Blow. It's going to be brief because I haven't finished it. But from what I've read, I want people to kind of invest in it. And of course, politics is always the talk of the day. So you can jump in with questions, thoughts, comments, anything you want to say. We wide open here. I know that we usually try to keep it a lot calmer in the ladies' room, which is why I wanted to digress and have a separate space where we could be a little bit more open in our comments and our thoughts. So we're talking about race today, and I'm gonna open with this, Cricket, and you can tell me what your thoughts are based on my opening comment. And my comment is this: it is my true, honest belief and assessment, as far as what I've seen, that if we could get rid of racism, that we would probably prevent or get rid of at least, I'd say, 85% of the problems we face here in America, just on racism alone. Because racism directly affects how and why people are poor, and the amount of people who are poor and sick and not in good health. So that is my contention, is that if we could get rid of race in this country, that we would eliminate 85% of the problems that we have in this country. However, we will never be able to get rid of race or racism without a reconciliation of race. So, what's your thoughts on that, my brother?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. We pretty much lockstep with that point of view. Um, I'll touch on the last thing you said before I hit the first thing you said.
Hmm.
Uh, this is something that I've been saying for a long time. I probably got it from you, but America will never atone for. I mean, we'll never be right in America until she atones for her original sin, which is slavery and racism. And and I was just listening to something. I think it was on CNN, and I don't know who it was because I was listening to it on the radio as opposed to watching it on TV. And the guy was saying you could draw a direct line from how they didn't want to listen. They didn't want to atone for slavery after Reconstruction, and then you had Jim Crow, and you could almost draw a direct line through the civil rights movement up until now, because this country still hasn't repented for slavery, and and we'll never be right. Uh, like Steely said in The Color Purple, until you do right by me,
Then you think I'm gonna go wrong.
everything is all right. So in 85%, that sounds about right. Everything in this country, people think all black people blame everything on racism. No, they don't. People don't look at racism enough.
Right.
It's so systemic and structural. It's baked into everything uh, in our system in America, and you can't look at any problem that we have in this country without directly attributing racism to it, and whether it's economics or healthcare or anything. Uh, Even if you're talking about this pandemic, who black people are disproportionately affected, and now not and we knew that early on, but now with the vaccines, black people it's the opposite effect. Black people are not getting vaccinated at a higher number than anybody else,
Right. Right.
and you have uh, white people or you have other people coming into our neighborhoods and getting our vaccines.
But I think with that, at least, Cricket, I will say this. Part of that is because of the way in which African Americans have grown to distrust the medical system in this country, that they're not even going to get those vaccines that are available to them in their neighborhoods. So they've already shown that white people have been getting those vaccines in a much higher rate than not only black people but also Hispanics, because of I think most of it is because of the distrust of our government around healthcare, and dating back to the Tuskegee experiment and all of those things they've done to us. Marion Sims with what he's done to women and how he's basically dissected women in order to experiment and come up with the speculum. So these are things that are in our history that people see, and then they build up this wall of mistrust. And as far as whether this vaccine is good or not, or whether it's a plot to kill black people, I'm not going to really speak on that at this point in time. But I will say that I can't blame black Americans for the mistrust. So that'll be another show. That'll be a
no,
total
for sure.
show, because we have to come up with a strategy if we're not going to take the vaccine. We have to figure out ways in which to keep ourselves healthy and safe. But as far as this whole idea of Black people always being disenfranchised because of the systems that are in place and what that does to America as a whole, and the fact that most white people don't see it, especially not poor, uneducated white people. And so it gives them this out when they say, like to your point, where you said that they always say that we blame racism for everything, racism. Well, the fact of the matter is that racism does affect just about every area of our lives. And we don't necessarily make that an excuse. It is what it is. It is a de facto situation that we find ourselves in, that this is the way it is. Whether it's written in law or not, this is the way it is. You can't legislate a person's thoughts. You can legislate behavior, of course, but you can't legislate their thoughts. And so when you think about what happened at the Capitol and the fact that the military, they are saying that the military was overrepresented in that mob of insurrectionists, and that these people are supposed to be the people that are on the front lines protecting you and I, not only the military, but police organizations as well. So when you think about that and think that these are the very people who are walking amongst us in the streets that are supposed to be serving and protecting us, and then they wonder why we're not being served and protected, we're being gunned down in the street. Well, these are the people who are lockstep in thought with Donald Trump and QAnon conspiracies.
Yeah, I agree with that. I saw the report too about the disproportionate number of military and police officers. Uh, I mean, it's one of those things where that don't surprise many black people. Uh, and and I think our saving grace is, even though the system is racist, uh, the upper levels of the military were not going to be part of any coup. Uh, 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 I won't put anything past anybody, but at this point, I don't know if they just didn't believe in Donald Trump or whatever it may be, but uh, the military, you have to have the military leadership in order to be able to have a successful coup, like Myanmar just did less than
Right.
24 hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have military leadership. And Trump did not have the backing of leadership in the military, but he was going for it because they just released a memo from the acting Secretary of Defense at the time, uh, with all these
Take your
how do I
time.
want to say it? They they were relaxing all the regulations in place for what they were supposed to be doing in the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't allowed to arrest people, protesters, just all kinds of things that would make you say, how could this be possible without this have been a planned insurrection? So I think we just got lucky with this one because there was a alarming number of military involvement, but they didn't have military leadership, which I think was our saving grace.
Right. Right. So I think also, Crick, we
Lawrence?
can't not be fooled. Like, they're saying, well, Donald Trump, he is the face of all of this recent, and well, I'm gonna say even before him, you had Sarah Palin. Now you got Donald Trump, who is the real face of it. But the problem is that this thing is so entrenched now that you have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is sitting in Congress now, who is an out and out supporter of racism. Not to mention, this woman liked on other people's pages other people supporting her being shot in the head. And now she's sitting in Congress. So when I say you have to bring this down to the bare essence of what it really is, this insurrection, and I'm sick and tired of them trying to say it's the conservative against the liberals. No, 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 no. This is all about racism and the fact that these people's way of life is shifting because the demographics of the country is shifting. And that is threatening to them. They are scared to death. And because of that, they are in a frenzy to do whatever they can. If they can't keep the system status quo, because they keep saying, oh, they want to change it, they want to drain the swamp. No, they're not interested in draining the swamp. What they're interested in doing is keeping this America white. They almost don't even, some of them almost don't even care whether they're poor or not, as long as they're poor and white.
Yeah.
That's the crux of it all. And so unfortunately, you see this stream of race that dominates everything we do here in this country, and why it is that we'll never be able to get on the right foot until we reconcile. We have to do like South Africa did and have a reconciliation and what did they call it? I forget what they called it, but they actually had set aside trials where people could come on. Race and reconciliation, I think that was the name of it. But anyway, they held trials where people could actually come on, tell their stories, tell what happened during theirs is not segregation, theirs is apartheid.
Mm-hmm.
And really try to atone for those sins. And this is what we need to do here in this country. But you have for this country who are still hell bent on holding on to those racist ideologies. When you think about the fact that 74 million people still voted for this nut, you have to look at this country and say, listen, there's no way that I could kind of like, now they're talking about unite. We need to be together. How can I unite with somebody who just a few days ago threatened my life, threatened to kill me? That's not a uniting. Mm-hmm. And without atonement, without reconciliation, without recognizing that you were wrong, there's no way to atone with those kind of people. So the whole idea is that we must now re-strategize and rethink, which is why I wanted to kind of a little bit talk about this book. I don't know what this camera is doing, but if you don't have this book, you need to get it. First of all, I'm going to tell you, I do a lot of reading, not as much as I used to, but I do a lot of reading. And Charles Blow writes so eloquently because he has that gift to flower words in a way that makes, because this book is it's a manifesto. The name is called The Devil You Know, a Black Power Manifesto. So literally in this book, he's kind of explaining things, and it's a lot of history in here too, which is what I also liked about the book. He's explaining things based on history, how we got to this space, and how we could probably gain some power as a people. And sometimes books like that are a little cut and dry and it kind of boring, but not this one. I also appreciate the fact that as much as I read, whenever I read anything from Cornel West or what's my other man, Dr. What's the other guy that I always read from?
Michael Eric Dyson.
Michael Eric Dyson. Whenever I read their books, I don't care how well read I am, I always have to pull out a dictionary.
Yeah, for sure.
Charles Blow makes this reading so easy. I mean, if you're not a reader, it might be a little bit. You might have to still pull out a dictionary or really get a little explanation. But if you just read the newspapers every day, you'll be able to get through this with no problem. It's very easy reading. It's very interesting reading. You're going to get a lot of history. But what I loved about this book is he's saying exactly what we're saying. That there is not going to be any reconciliation, because he breaks down what happened at the Capitol, which he must have did at the last minute, because I know that this book was pretty much finished before that Capitol incident. So he must have did a real quick revision before they put it out. But anyhow, he breaks down what happened at the Capitol, and he's saying there's not going to be any kind of real unity in this country without reconciliation. But he's saying, most of all, forget their reconciliation. Let's devise. No, he's not saying let's devise a plan. He's telling you the plan. He already devised a way and a strategy in which Black people can hold real power in the South, and we could really have the kind of power that affects our daily lives. So if you don't have that book, please get that book. It's worth it. He tells a story, and I must say this because as I'm reading it, I'm thinking about this. Rodney Creech, I hope you're still listening. He talks about, the Great Migration from the South from 1917 to 1970. And of course, our grandparents were caught up in that particular migration. And I remember my grandfather explaining to me that, telling the story, not explaining, but telling the story about how him and his brother wound up north, because they were really trying to keep from being lynched, because they was into some trouble with some white boys who I think the white boys had started some stuff with them, but Pop ain't no punk. RB and JT, they weren't no punks. So whatever it was, that was part of the story that they pretty much came up north to avoid being lynched. And I remember Mrs. Creech telling me a long time ago about these people in her family, and I can't remember what relation they were to her, but they were some people in her family that had moved, and I want to say somewhere in Illinois. I'm not going to say exactly Chicago, but somewhere in Illinois. They moved up north, but they didn't know how to handle the weather because, it's so different, the cold. And they wind up having pneumonia. It was 2 of them that she told me about, and they died.
Wow.
Because they couldn't handle the weather. And so when I thought about that, and I was thinking about that while I'm reading this book, I'm thinking about all that a lot of Black people gave up to come from the South to the North, thinking that, it would be heaven on earth when they got to the North, because it was so horrible, the conditions, and really you was fighting for your life down there. You really literally were trying to avoid being lynched down there. But then to come up here to the North where people act like they were so liberal, only to find out they were just as racist. The difference was they didn't have to deal with the amount of Black people up north as they did down south. So they were able to say, oh, what a shame that what you guys did to those poor Black people in the South. Well, you didn't have too many Black people up here to mistreat. You didn't have to have that fear of they're taking over. So, once we got up here, and he explains in the book very well that once we got up here and they had to look at that, they started creating laws and policies, all of these inhumane things around keeping Black people in check or in their space. So it's really a good book, but we have to really kind of consider the idea. And not everybody, it's not for everybody. I really understand. Well, let me hear your thought on it. I'm talking too much. Go.
Now I had planned on talking about this because I thought we were gonna do the book on another show, so I didn't get the book yet. Uh, uh, I'm not gonna say what I think about the migrating just yet,
Mhm.
but I don't know. It is a big ask, uh, but you got to get to the point where our existence and our existence in this country and whether or not we're part of the franchise or whether we keep letting the system disenfranchise us. Uh,
Crick,
we gotta.
wherever you was at before, you sound a lot clearer. You don't sound as clear as you did before.
Okay, I don't know what it is. It might just be my signal because I haven't changed anything.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, just whether or not we part of the franchise, we have to decide what's best for us. Maybe a migration may be the way to go because we do have to. I did think about this after we talked about the other night, but you have to be part of the local system and not just national uh, politics and national government. You have to participate on a local level, on a state level, and that's how you change laws. Because right now, all over the country, because Joe Biden won and they couldn't do anything to change it, and because they won those two seats in Georgia, those Senate seats already all across the country. They changing so many laws to make it harder for people to vote, for minorities, for Black people to vote. That we're not just gonna win every election without some kind of changes being made to the system in the other direction. And like I said, we got to think about whether we want to be part of local government. Uh, I just hope that they make some kind of changes on a national level with the Voting Rights Act because something has to be done to put these states in check. And I know the Senate and the House both have bills uh, to pretty much to do that. But you can't do anything without 60 votes in the Senate, and that's another topic where we got to talk about whether they get rid of the filibuster in the Senate or not. And if they don't do that, they're not going to be able to do anything before the 2022 election.
Right.
And that's what I worry about.
Right. Well, I'm gonna advise you. I said I was gonna send it to you, right? I'm gonna send it to you.
Yeah, I told you I was going to get the audio book so you wouldn't have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can revisit this at another time anyway, because I'm not finished either. I was so distracted this weekend, but we could finish another time. But I so far, I'm telling you, I had thought about this years ago anyway. Before he put it in he really constructed it in such a way that it makes so much more sense, and it makes more sense that not only would we be able to gain power, but the way in which we will gain power will be more effective for us, because the power won't be just as far as national elections go. It will be for local election. Well, really state elections,
right,
and state laws that really pertain to us as a whole. So that's what I'm down with the manifesto. If I could afford it, I'd be out of here tomorrow. Especially after what they did in Georgia, how they turned Georgia blue, and a majority of that was from people who came back and repatriated areas of the South. Well,
yeah.
family members, because especially in the 90s, you started to see a lot of people, even from right here where we live, move back down south.
Yeah, in the 90s, everybody wanted to go to Atlanta, and there was a big migration, especially from where we're from, down south. late 90s. I remember right after I graduated from high school, everybody was starting to move to Atlanta. And I moved to Atlanta for a brief period in the early 2000s.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And you couldn't go anywhere without seeing somebody from back home.
Really?
There's so many black
You
people that
breaking up
are
now,
not
so
from there.
you breaking up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I try to hopefully get better.
Uh-huh. So yeah, that you back. Say something. Let me see if I got you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay,
Right,
I got you. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's where it's at. And I'm sorry again if people don't like it, but you gotta get used to it and you gotta really start wrapping your mind around it and learning how to have these kinds of discussions with our so-called what's they call them, with our good white people. I'm looking at the title of a book that I got here. We got to have these discussions with them and get them used to the idea, because a lot of them will still say, well, it's not necessarily about race. It's not. It is about race.
It's about race.
And when
We got to stop tiptoeing around that.
right, when you can see it, you can see your way around it. You can see your way out of it. But as long as you keep denying the fact that a lot of the issues, a lot of the problems that we have in this country are about race, then it's never going to change. Robin was saying that she couldn't hear you. So I don't know if she hears you now or not. Keep giving us updates, Robin. Thank you for that. But
one quick thing I want to say, I think with white people, I think a lot of them, so many people take it as a personal affront when you even bring up racism. It's not about you. It's not necessarily about you. If you know you do right, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. But this is something, and to tell you the truth, you probably do have some biases that need to be dealt with. And so it's nothing wrong with dialogue. And that's the problem. Everybody want to tiptoe around it, and say not everything is about race, when damn near everything is about race.
exactly. So I mean, again, I hate the idea of black people always having to give white people their lessons. See how I just I'm not this just should set it up like this, but that's gonna help me go right into the movie. But the whole idea of black people always having to me, they always claim this, the white man's burden, like they always have to save us. But that's a damn lie. Because in my mind, I feel like it's always us. It's always on black people to bring white people to their humanity, because they lost it. They don't understand humanity. And as long as they walk around feeling like they are superior in their humanity, they will never really understand humanity. So it is in us teaching them how to be more human that presents a burden for us. And so,
Right.
I mean, I hate to throw this out here, but it is what it is. If you have white friends, I know you don't want to have to take on that burden, but when you have a chance to kind of guide them, even though it's not our responsibility to do that, because they created this system, they need to do more work to fix it. But a lot of them are just unwilling to do it. But when you have somebody who is willing to listen, you got to help them through this process. You got to show them without allowing them to gaslight you, because what they try to do is, instead of having an honest, open dialogue, they want to gaslight all the time. Like they like the idea that they could, in some way, conflate what happened on January 6th, this big ass insurrection against the government, which was born out of racism. They want to conflate that with Black Lives Matter movement, which is a protest about people trying to save lives. Those two, they don't even match. They're not even in the same ballpark. So
right,
you have to be able to check them on that. Don't let them gaslight you in that area. But it shouldn't be up to us to always have to present them with humanity by teaching them how to behave as humans. But
Yeah.
that brings me to the movie. So I'll briefly, I said before, I'm we'll pretty much make this kind of like the end, because if you want to come on, if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be tipped off, you probably should log off now.
There will be spoilers.
Right. If you don't want a spoiler, you probably should leave, because we're going to talk about American Skin. So anybody who has seen it, if you have any comments about it, feel free to share. But I just wanted to pretty much give my thoughts and opinions about the movie, because I see that a lot of people had posted on their timelines that they liked the movie. They thought the movie was good. And I'll be honest with you, there were some parts that were good, but overall, I thought it was trash. So, and let me get your opinion before I tell you why I thought it was crap.
No, I'll give you my opinion and I'll get into it. I want to hear your trash perspective.
Okay, my trash perspective is pretty much born out of the idea that this is Hollywood. This is the movies, right? And for the most part, Black people live this trauma each and every day. We are always having to deal with shootings of unarmed. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't even set them up and tell them what the movie is about. The movie is about this Black father and son riding home one day. The father gets stopped, and two cops stop them. One of the cops wind up killing the young boy who was a passenger in the father's car, who was filming the stop. So why I say it was trash was because, again, I really feel like we deal with this trauma every day as African Americans, right? And when we go to movies, unless you're telling a real history about something, sometimes we want a little levity. We don't always want to have to go to the movies and come out with all of this weight or heaviness. And so when I saw the trailer for the movie, I was like, "Ooh, I can't wait to see that movie." Because in the trailer, it made it seem like finally somebody was going to be accountable for killing one of ours, right? So I'm not going to just say exactly what happened in the movie, but I will just say this.
Oh, you can say we doing a review on the movie. You can do it's gonna be spoilers.
Okay, so then
if you haven't seen this movie, you shouldn't be watching this live, because we dive in deep into this movie.
Right, because we already told you now. We gave you the warning. This is gonna be a spoiler if you haven't seen it and you want to see it. So okay, so then the guy kills the young man. They kidnap the Black chief and take over the precinct. But instead of this really being a tribunal where they actually try to get justice for this young boy's death, it winds up being a lesson for white people about our pain and suffering and trauma. And so, and actually not only for the people who were supposedly in the precinct, but for anybody viewing the movie, it was as if they were trying to, instead of exacting punishment on this young man for killing this young boy, what they did was, again, trying to bring white people to their humanity. You're trying to help them. You're trying to show them where they're wrong and help them get on the right path. That's not the movie I wanted to see. I'm sorry. And, I don't mean this because, again, the disclaimer is this is all fiction. This is in the movies. It's Hollywood. It's supposed to be a feel good. I wanted to see some Nat Turner type shit. I'm serious. I did not want to see them go in there and he forgive the man. And I was thoroughly disgusted by this film. I'm sorry. I was very come on, because you know I'm gonna go off more.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So my take is not as harsh as yours. I thought it was very predictable. Uh, I I did get a little upset uh, once they got to the police house and they took over the police station and then they turned it into to me that section of the movie was too artistic. Uh, we gotta teach a lesson in how in race, and that's not that's not what I saw happen and get at up until that point. This
exactly.
looked to me like a father who was grieving for his son. And let me give my disclaimer that we're talking about a fictional film,
Uh-huh.
because if anybody sees this, they might get a little upset with me. But I'm gonna tell how I think it should have been.
Uh-huh.
But this was a father grieving for his son who was killed, and of course the grand jury did not indict him. Uh, a little background on the story: uh, the police officers were saying that uh, the father had a expired insurance card.
Right.
Uh, it the card said that he gave him was expired. The cop didn't let him go back into the glove compartment to get the good insurance card. Turns out later that his insurance was valid. Uh, Also turns out later that after a little uh, poking and prodding, the officer understands, admits that they were profiling him. What were you doing in this neighborhood that late at night with this old ass Honda Civic?
Right.
Uh, so he admits that they profiled him, and that's why they pulled him over. What the original reason was, they were at at an elevated level of speed, even though they didn't have the number. They didn't have a what did you clock? What speed did you clock me at? I didn't clock you,
Right.
but it was an elevated level of speed.
And turned out that that wasn't even true either, because
And
remember,
and I was gonna get to that, and that wasn't even true because we were slowing down. I was looking at my speed too, was what the father says, and we had to hit speed bumps. We were slowing down, so we were not speeding. So, long story short, they make this into a whole learning, a
teachable moment.
lesson, a teachable moment
A
on
teachable
race,
moment.
to just like you said, just like Nikki said, to where we get to see a white person's humanity. Whereas when you see them take over that police station, you think at the very least they're gonna kill the cop that killed his son, but some of these cops are probably gonna fight back. Some more cops are gonna get killed.
Right.
Uh, they convict they assemble a jury. The jury actually convicts him, and the system where there is no justice for black people, and this is my disclaimer that we talking about fiction. If this is my movie, that cop is gonna die.
Right.
But I guess in Hollywood, the movie doesn't get done, and we don't know the behind the scenes thing.
Mm.
What's his name? Nate Park, I think his name is the director. I forget his last name.
Nate Parker. That's but
But
Spike Lee had something to do with the movie.
Spike Lee produced it, I think. But in order to get a movie distributed, things have to be allowed. I'm almost willing to bet that he probably wanted to kill that cop, and they said no, because it's not as effective. I mean,
but the thing is, not as effective to who?
Anybody to me.
Uh-huh.
Because if you're looking at it from our shoes, Same story. We're not getting justice. Oh, you letting this guy off the hook. From white people's point of view, they talk about it in a jury deliberation. The cops have a hard job. They touch on all that. He want to go home to his family. Well, these two black men want to go home to their family. They want to go home too, and that's acknowledged in the jury deliberation room. And I think there's a certain amount of shock value to people who are usually the perpetrators. If you really doing some self-reflection, there's a good amount of shock value, and maybe you think about it a little bit differently. We teaching them bringing them back to their humanity, like you said. That's been done how many times? They don't need that. They needed something else, just like we did.
Yeah, I just I don't know why I did that. I just was so disappointed because you know how I've been feeling even since even though this is not the movies, this is real life. And I'm not encouraging violence, but shit, let me just put this out there. If they ain't gonna arrest Donald Trump, then shit, they can't arrest me. But I'm gonna just say this. All them raggedy ass gang members who claim they so hard, walk around with the tears under their eyes and all of that shit. They walk around and glorify killing each other. And then when that man killed Trayvon Martin and got away with it, and ain't nobody go see him, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm tired of punk shit. The punk stuff is what keeps us where we are. We gotta have a little bit of fight in us somewhere.
Yeah. No, I ain't gonna touch on that's real life stuff. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch on it too.
I'm not saying that that's what they should do. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the fact that they didn't do it says more about them than anything else. I'm not saying they should do that. Look, I didn't say that. I didn't say go to the Capitol. I didn't say that. They go to what's his name's house. I didn't even mention his name. I'm just saying that, you know, these kinds of instances is where it is almost assumed, I think, that we could just do anything we want to do to black people, and all they could do is just take it. So when I saw this movie and saw that not even in fairy tale land could we have an ending where we could clap about it, I'm like, wow, this just really because you know what happened in the previews, it made it seem like, especially when he was in the room talking to the cop, and it was just him and the other guy talking to the cop. It made it seem like he did like a little bamboozle. You know how in Bamboozle, where they took them to that. That's what I thought the movie was gonna be more like. But this right here, I'm sorry, I was totally disappointed.
And one reason why I think that he should have shot that cop wife is because at this point you've taken over a police station, you've held a police station full of police hostage.
Right.
You are a black man.
Right.
There is no way you're coming out alive. You are not coming out alive. I don't care how many people you don't kill. You're not coming out alive.
Right.
And he did not come out alive.
And he didn't come out alive.
So knowing that, you do what you got to do.
Right.
Let this be some kind of lesson. Make them really have some pause before they kill another black person.
And that's the thing. I probably would not have been so angry about the movie if he had come out alive. Because that was another part of the movie that made me mad. It was so corny at the end. When the guy that killed his son says, I'm going to walk out with you, but not as an enemy. As a support. That was so corny. I'm like, wow.
At that point, I was like, if I hadn't killed him, At that point, when he say that to me, after he done killed my son,
Right,
I may have lost it.
right. See, it was too corny for me. I'm sorry. I didn't like it at
Yeah.
all. I didn't really agree with the way it was going. But I will say this though. This is the good thing about it. Nate Parker is, you can see a lot of Denzel in him too. I think he gets a lot of his style from Denzel.
Yeah,
There were a
for
few
sure.
points in the movie where I was like, oh, that's Denzel. He's very Denzel like. And even
Nate Parker is very talented.
yeah, very tough. And Omari Hardwick, he did a really good job in the film too.
He did a good job in that movie, not just playing. I mean, he did a good job playing somebody that was sick,
Right, that's the part of
and and you see his anger about the whole situation, almost like it was his kid.
right.
And the combination of that and he's dying pretty much. He played that role. He definitely played that part.
Right. Rodney, I get a movie 2 stars.
I,
2 out of 5. They get 2 out of 5.
I'll give it 2.5 stars.
Yeah, only because I mean, part of my upset was that at this particular time, especially having black folks trauma on stage for other people as entertainment grosses me the excuse me, my ladies in the ladies room people don't don't let this go after I say it. But I'm telling you, it really having black people's trauma on stage as entertainment for the world to see grosses me the fuck out. Excuse my
Yeah,
French, but I had to. I had, they say sometimes
yeah.
you shouldn't use that vocabulary, but I couldn't. That is the best way that I could say it. It really, it makes my stomach churn to always have
Yeah,
our
I've
trauma
been
set
I've
out
been
there.
tired of it for a while. I've been tired of it for a while. It's hard for me to watch a lot of these movies. Uh, there was another movie maybe a year or two ago. I forget the name of this movie, and my kids made me watch it. And I was so disturbed after watching this movie. This movie with the girl and her friend dies, and the police stop. She's in the car with him. I don't know if you've seen that movie. What's
Oh, you talking
uh
about what's his name? Slim and what you call it?
huh?
Slim and
Not that. I forgot the name of that too. This is a
but
young
that
girl.
made
She's a
me mad too.
teenager.
But that one made me mad,
Oh,
but it was a
that
little
made me
bit better.
mad, but it was
It was
also
better.
very
It was
predictable.
better.
Yeah, it was a better movie.
It was a better movie.
Yeah,
It was really. It was a much better movie because that one I would give 4.5 stars because I
that
love the
was a good
idea
one.
of the way their romance grew.
Yeah,
I love that. I love the idea of how as they going, from town to town and place to place, that these black people are really taking care of them. They like, oh yeah, we
yep,
know who you
yep.
are. You safe here. You safe here. We know who you are. But of course, it had to be a Negro to
A
sell them
baddie.
out, which pisses me off. But it was a much better movie. Much better.
The hate you give, I think something like that. The name of the movie is.
Oh, okay, Rodney.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that
I didn't
movie,
see it.
that movie disturbed me, and it's about the black trauma. That's what disturbs me. I can't. I and like I said, my kids made me watch this, made me watch that. So for them to have to see that, to have to watch these kinds of movies, and have to learn, we got to have the conversation with them. Uh, so I want a reprieve when I watch a movie,
Exactly.
and we don't get that.
Right. You want to go to the movie, eat your popcorn without feeling sick.
Right.
Some of the stuff
I
would make
want to
you
be
feel
able to
sick.
suspend disbelief for a little while.
Right, right, right. So that was it. That was my little uh rant about that movie because I really just feel like we could have evolved. Let's do some different stuff. I want to see us doing more positive stuff, more positive. Come to think of it, there's this show. I I think it was on before because I think they said this was being picked up for a second season or something. But when I saw it, I was pissed off. I don't even know anything about it. I just saw the previews and know it's about a drug dealing family that's black. Snowfall, you heard about it?
I haven't heard of that. Yeah, I haven't seen
Something
that at all.
Snowfall. But anyway, I really want us to stop making that kind of stuff because in my
Yeah,
mind, things perpetuate themselves in a cycle based on the attention you give it. So we got to stop giving that kind of stuff attention.
attention.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep. So, but anyway, I'm so glad some of you hung out with us here. Rodney, um, talk to your brother, Corey. He said you may not have never heard the story either. And don't forget that Mrs. Creech was my second mom, so she might have shared stuff with her daughter that she didn't share with her sons. But if you know that story about your people coming up north and getting pneumonia and passing, tell your brother Corey. He said he didn't hear that story. But
What's up, Rodney? Tell Corey I said what's up to
yeah, both of them were here. Uh-huh. So I don't remember it thoroughly because she told me that story so long ago, a long time ago. But I just remembered it because I put it in my Rolodex of this idea of us coming from the South because I remember the story that Pop told us. So anyway, I thank you guys for hanging out for us for this last past hour. We're gonna come to you every so often with some issues on political discourse. What else, Crick? What else we got for the peoples?
I got nothing for nobody until my name is pronounced correctly.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lawrence. Y'all gotta understand
No,
this is a
well, no, I just look forward to coming
wait. Now,
back and
how
talking
old are you,
about
Crick?
politics. 43. I'll be
42?
44 next month. 43.
40. Oh, okay. So this is a 43-year-old habit I gotta break.
Yeah. But it's all good, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but thank you guys for hanging out with us, Rodney, Robin, Shalane, Susan, Cheryl, Brenda, Miss Denise, who had to log off because she wanted to see the movie on her own. Tyrone, we thank you for hanging out. Anybody else out there in the listening audience, but you didn't type in, that's quite okay. We thank you anyway. This has been, I meant what I said. You, Mr. Fishburne, I don't know. You'll tell me later, Rodney. But good evening to you guys. And again, don't forget, if you haven't already purchased The Devil You Know, go out and get it. It's a very good read and it's a quick read. I just was being busy this weekend. Look, I gotta stay on Facebook. That's one thing. But I was being busy on the phone and doing every little other thing on the live and doing everything except for getting through this book because I'm almost really I got a great chunk of it already. But it's a very quick read, it's very easy read. It's got a strategy. So and that's what me. I don't want to really hear about a problem without a strategy. So that's what I like about the book. That's a strategy. Whether you can get involved with the strategy or not is one thing, but at least listen in for it. But any last words, Grit?
I look forward to the book, and I'm gonna get my audio copy, and I'm gonna listen to it. I can't wait. I'm excited for that. Uh, I'm glad to be here. Glad seeing everybody. Only thing is, I couldn't see any of the chat, so I couldn't respond to anything. So
Oh,
next
I'm
time,
sorry
maybe
that I
I'll
didn't
try to do
highlight it.
that.
Next time I'll do a better job at highlighting.
I'm just not used to doing it, so I just gotta learn how to do it. But next time, I'll figure it out, and then maybe I can respond to what the people saying too. But it's been great being here. Look forward to it again, and I'll see y'all next time.
Well, what you could do is, Crick, stay on, don't hang up. I'll take you off the screen, and I'll show you a little bit of how you could kind of do that. So
Okay, sounds good.
yeah, so just hang on with us for a minute, and until I log you off, and then we'll take care of that. But again, like I said, this has been I Meant What I Said, and coming to you whenever the mood strikes. So until the next time the mood strikes, everybody stay warm if you're in the Northeast, and be good, and don't forget to stay. Please stay.
Black, 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 black on black, black, my thoughts so black, 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 I'm black, my skin is so black, I'm looking at